A woman in Paris, past 60, likely owns fewer pairs of shoes than you do, and somehow looks more put together in every single one of them. It isn't restraint for its own sake. It's 5 specific shoes, chosen once and worn for years, instead of a closet full of pairs that never quite get reached for, still bearing the sales tags. From a purchase that felt necessary at the time and never quite was. The 5th one will surprise you, because it's the shoe most women her age assume they're supposed to have outgrown. Here's the first one. You'll know within a sentence whether you already own it. The ballet flat. Not a trend, not a seasonal pick, the one shoe that stayed in constant rotation, regardless of what happened to be fashionable that particular year. A simple leather or suede flat, rounded toe, no hardware shouting for attention. Worn with everything from trousers to a summer dress. You can spot her from across a market square before you even see her face, walking easily over cobblestones that would trip up a heel, in flats that look as intentional as anything else she's wearing, never once slowing her down. Here's why it works long after flashier flats fade. A ballet flat asks nothing of your foot. No break-in period. No arch fighting you by hour 3. No compromise between comfort and looking finished, which is exactly why it becomes the shoe reached for without thinking, morning after morning, for years rather than one season. The fix, if yours has been sitting unworn. Skip anything with a logo or an ornament competing for attention, and choose one in a color that matches your own skin tone or your most worn trouser color, so it extends your leg line instead of interrupting it. A quick way to test whether a flat will earn its place. Walk in it across a hard floor for a full minute before you buy it, not just a few steps in the fitting area. If your foot is already asking for a break, it won't survive a real day. If you're enjoying practical advice that respects your age instead of fighting it, this is exactly what we share here every week. Consider subscribing. And here's something worth saying plainly. None of this is about buying more. It's the opposite. 5 shoes, chosen with real intention, will always outlast 20 bought on impulse, worn twice, and quietly forgotten at the back of the closet. The next one solves a problem the ballet flat can't, and it's the shoe most women reach for without realizing why it works so well. Have you ever noticed that the most effortlessly put-together women rarely seem to be wearing heels at all, and yet somehow their outfit still looks finished? That's usually the loafer doing quiet work underneath it. A leather loafer, penny, tassel, or simply clean and structured, sits in the space between casual and formal that so many other shoes miss entirely. It has just enough structure to look intentional, and just enough ease to walk in for hours. This is really about versatility. One good loafer works with trousers, a skirt, even a dress, which means it earns its place in a 5-shoe wardrobe by doing the job of 3 different shoes at once. The fix, one well-made pair, in a classic color like tan or black, worn slightly looser than you'd expect rather than tight. The relaxed fit is part of what makes it read as chic instead of corporate. A fast way to check if yours are working for you. Walk across the room. If you're thinking about your feet at all by the 10th step, they're the wrong fit, no matter how good they looked in the store mirror. Quick honest question, is the loafer already living in your closet, or is it the one on this list you've never actually owned? Tell me in the comments. The next one is the only heel on this entire list, and there's a very specific reason it's the only one that survives. Picture 2 women at the same dinner, both in heels, both dressed beautifully. By the end of the evening, one is quietly holding her shoes in her hand on the walk to the car. The other still has hers on, and still looks just as composed as she did 3 hours earlier. The difference is almost never pain tolerance. It's the shoe. A classic slingback, pointed or almond toe, a walkable mid-height heel, an open back that holds the foot without gripping it, is the one heel that keeps showing up decade after decade, while platform heels, stilettos, and block heels each have their moment and fade. This is about sustainable elegance. A heel that still feels like your own foot after 3 hours isn't a compromise. It's simply better engineering. The open back distributes weight differently than a closed pump, and the slight heel height keeps your posture upright without demanding your balance fight gravity all evening. The fix. If you love the height and formality of a heel but dread the end of a night, a slingback with a heel no higher than 2 inches gives you the polish without the trade-off. Try standing in them at the store for a full 5 minutes, not just walking a few steps. That's usually enough time to know whether they'll survive an actual evening. The fourth one isn't glamorous at all, and that's exactly the point. A leather ankle boot. Not chunky, not overly embellished, simply clean leather with a low block heel. Is the shoe doing the most unglamorous, essential work of the entire 5, carrying you through the months neither sandals nor open shoes can cover. Think of the last cold morning you stepped outside for an early errand, coat pulled tight, and reached instinctively for whatever was warmest and easiest, without a single thought about how it looked. This is the shoe that makes that instinct and elegance the same choice, instead of 2 different ones. It works over tights, under wide-leg trousers, with a skirt on a cold morning, and it does all of it without ever looking like the outfit was built around a compromise. This is continuity, the same principle that's mattered in nearly every video on this channel. A boot that ends cleanly at the ankle, in a color close to your trouser, keeps one unbroken line running from hip to floor, exactly the way a well-placed hem or a matched hosiery shade does. The fix, 1 pair, genuine leather if you can manage it, in black or a rich brown, without buckles or studs competing for attention. Fast check. With the boot on, look at yourself from the side. If there's a visible gap in color or line between the boot and your trouser hem, that's the same broken line problem worth fixing here as anywhere else in your wardrobe. Which of these 4 already lives in your closet? The flat, the loafer, the slingback, or the boot? Tell me the word in the comments, because it tells me exactly what to cover next. If 4 shoes built entirely around comfort and elegance can carry a whole wardrobe, wait until you hear what the 5th one actually is, because it's not what you'd expect at all. The 5th shoe in a French woman's rotation, past 60, is a plain white sneaker. Not the shoe you'd guess. Possibly the shoe you've spent years quietly avoiding, convinced it would undo everything else you'd built. Here's what's actually true. A clean white leather sneaker, with no chunky sole and no loud branding, has become one of the most reached for shoes in exactly the kind of wardrobe we've been describing all video, not despite its casualness, but because of it. Picture a woman crossing a busy square on a Tuesday morning, tailored trousers, a soft blazer, and on her feet, a clean white sneaker instead of the heel you'd expect. Nobody looking at her reads casual. They read, she clearly knows exactly what she's doing. The outfit around it is what is the elegant work. A white sneaker under tailored trousers and a blazer reads entirely differently than the same sneaker under sweats. The shoe isn't fighting for attention. It's simply the most comfortable option underneath a look that's already put together everywhere else. This is the whole idea the other 4 shoes were quietly building toward. Elegance was never about suffering for the shoe. It was about choosing the right shoe for the right hour of your actual day and having the confidence to let comfort and polish coexist in the same pair. The fix, if you've been avoiding sneakers entirely, start with 1 clean white leather pair, no visible logo, worn with something more structured on top, a blazer, a tailored trouser, so the sneaker reads as a choice rather than a concession. You didn't need to give up comfort to look elegant. You'd simply never been told the 2 were allowed in the same 5 shoes. Here's what all 5 of these actually share. None of them are trend pieces, and none of them ask you to suffer for how they look. Every one of them was chosen because it does its job for years, not 1 season. A ballet flat that asks nothing of your foot. A loafer that does the work of 3 shoes. A slingback built to survive an entire evening. A boot that keeps 1 clean line running to the floor. And a sneaker that finally lets comfort and polish sit in the same pair. 5 shoes, chosen once, with real intention, will always outlast a closet full of pairs bought on impulse and barely worn. The ones still sitting in their boxes, the ones that seemed like a good idea in the store and never quite made it into an actual outfit. That's really the whole secret hiding inside this whole video. It was never about owning more. It was about finally owning shoes worth reaching for, morning after morning, without a second thought, for years rather than a single season. Tell me, which of these 5 are you missing from your own closet, and which one are you adding first? I'll be reading every answer, and I might feature a few of them in the next video. If today changed even one thing about how you'll shop for shoes this year, that's exactly why this channel exists. Give this a like if it gave you even one thing you didn't know a few minutes ago. I'll see you in the next one.